so much that she can't say. So the words pour out like blood from her face. Another letter wrote in vain again. Bottled up and washed up on the sand. Another letter wrote in vain again. Keeps her alive inside. She don't Another letter wrote in vain again. Bottled up and washed up on the sand. Another letter wrote in vain again. Keeps her alive inside. Another letter wrote in vain again. Bottled up and washed up on the sand. Another letter wrote in vain again. Keeps her alive inside. Alive inside. Keeps her alive.
Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Rock Pile Report podcast, live on YouTube. Chris, was there ever a doubt? Was there ever a doubt?
Well, it's cool we got to watch the game together because Thursday night I'm not working. I mean, we got to talk about what happened on Wednesday because it's the first time in a while I had no alcohol during the game because I got obliterated with my wife the night before on some leftover bottled cocktails that I brought to the home opener.
Guys, Chris doesn't, this is one of the funny things about being a drinker's podcast. Chris doesn't actually, Chris isn't a teetotaler. Like, he's having a cocktail right now. He's not afraid to sip a little bit.
I will tell you this right here, you're going to see it on Monday night because it goes in with the Jaguars who were playing on Monday night, also with who we just played. Technically, I'd call this an orange fashioned. It is
orange fashioned.
Old Tub, orange syrup, orange bitters. Although I don't know how I'm going to be able to find. I'm going to have to find I'm probably going to have to go to Tops to get oranges for it because let's be honest, the Jacksonville Jaguars are the tops of the NFL when it comes to football.
Guys, this is going to be a fun show tonight. We've got a lot to unpack. The Buffalo Bills are now 2-0. And they're sitting on top of the AFC East after an entire offseason where all we heard was that the Bills were finished. They didn't have the talent. They didn't have the tools. They didn't have what it took to compete. I know I'm not crazy. I heard those things. And in fact, if you stick around until the end of the show, I've got a message regarding some of what we were told, and you'll understand why we are where we are.
Hey, here's how you got to compete.
Oh, my God.
There's one, and then that's the preseason Babbage chain. Dude, if we get 10 wins deep and I'm doing this on camera 10 times in a row, I mean, I'm going to fuck. And then we beat the Cardinals.
You're going to look like Mr. T.
Yep, I'm already looking like I can't do this. I don't know how you men wear jewelry like this. Keep talking. I got to put this on.
No, guys, we should stop a sports podcast and watch my host struggle to put on jewelry.
Well, you'll find out the title of the episode, Building Something from Nothing. That's the YouTube title. It's I have no confidence. I'm building my confidence right now.
One
with
chain at a time.
my gold chain.
Chris is building his confidence.
And then we end it with the cross for Tua. Prayers up for my guy.
I'm going to hit you with this week's stats of the game while he fumbles with jewelry. Josh Allen, 13 of 19 for 68%, 139, one touchdown, a 107 passer rating. Tua Tagovailoa, 17 of 25, identical 68%, even if it didn't feel like it. 145, one touchdown, 3 picks, 1 sack, and a passer rating of less than 52. The Bills' defensive line, 16 pressures, 3 quarterback hits, 2 sacks. Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. I had to go fact check myself here because this seems ridiculous. How many yards after the catch do you think those two combined for?
Hill and
Waddle.
under 50.
Under 50? 36 combined yards after the catch for Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. Less than 50 is absurd. Okay? That's a mess. DeMar Hamlin, 10 tackles. Running back James Cook, 3 touchdowns, 78 yards rushing and 17 receiving. Easily the best game of his career, Chris.
Yeah.
Running back Devon Achane, 4 runs of 10 or more yards, 56 yards after contact. Miami, 8 rushing first downs. And then lightning round, Chris, the number 2. What am I thinking of?
A dump.
The number of Josh Allen rushing yards in what was a dominant victory. 19.6. What's that number, Chris?
His pass attempts.
It's the pass block rating for recently extended right tackle Austin Jackson from Miami, who gave up 1 sack, 6 hurries, and a whopping 7 pressures. The number 8, Chris.
8? It's how many gold chains I'm going to have by Thanksgiving. Look at all my gold chains.
It's how many rushing first downs Miami had, which is notable because they only had 12 passing. The number 3 is the number of missed tackles by Dolphins cornerback Jalen Ramsey, and 7. Do you know what 7 is, Chris?
That's how much a touchdown is.
It's the number of consecutive Thursday night football games Josh Allen has won since joining the NFL back in 2018. God, you love to see it. And what a night. What a game. What is this thing that I'm feeling? You watched the game with me. Usually, pessimist Drew just comes in like a wet blanket and ruins everything for everybody and has to go sulk in a corner, right?
Yeah, well, we were like good from the start. Like Miami had no shot from the beginning. And I love that we're getting our fucking run game involved with running backs and not relying on Josh Allen.
Well, that's kind of where I want to start off this conversation. If we're going to recap the game and what we saw and what I think about it. Now, for those of you who want to hear more about what he just talked about and you got something to do, somewhere to go, you don't really care about hearing about the killer bees at work, they're on the swarm, Chris. And I know you're too Caucasian to know what it is I'm talking about.
Well, everybody in the comments loves my jewelry.
Of course they do.
You know what
watching
happened?
You make a spectacle of yourself.
You know what happened the other day? I think it was yesterday. Benton, my wife's son, says to me, "Hey, after the season, can I have your collection of gold chains?" Yes, you can.
If they win the Super Bowl, those things are going in a trophy case down here in the basement.
All right.
I want to start off by saying this. For years, and I mean years, we have watched, Chris, 2020. So for 3 seasons now, we've watched the Bills just spread the field and air it out on teams. Right? That's how you get to 31. Or you watch Josh play hero ball and use his legs and his physicality to be the catalyst for the Buffalo Bills offense. And that's, he wills the team to victory. It wasn't until I think last year's Cowboys game was the first time that you saw a Buffalo Bills team carry Josh Allen to a victory. Is that fair?
Yes.
Cowboys game last year. And that's exactly what you saw on Thursday night. Just evidenced by some of the figures I rattled off to you. It was a collective effort by so many different units of the Buffalo Bills team, not just Josh Allen. And the offensive performance is where we start with this, because I think it's fair to say that at least a little, like, I don't know. It was predictable that if we were going to win, it was because we thrashed them, right? It wasn't, hey, a white knuckle affair. We haven't had too many of those in our history against the Dolphins.
No.
Okay. But I wasn't worried about their defense shutting down the Bills' offense. But I wasn't expecting to see the offense generating yardage and generating positive plays the way that it did. Right? Like, the Bills averaged over 8 yards per carry in the first half. That seems like a made-up statistic or something that one of your idiot friends who doesn't actually know football but is trying to sound smart. Well, guy, he had like 15 yards of carry. That's why I took him in fantasy, man. I swear.
That's a Madden stat.
Exactly. More than 8 yards of carry in the first half. And hearing that, you probably think they went heavy, right? Oh man, if they're averaging 8 yards per carry, they must have gone 2 tight end sets. They must have brought in extra blockers, like a sixth lineman as a tight end. They spent the whole first half almost exclusively running out of 11 personnel. The only play that Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox were on the field at the same time for in the first half was when they kneeled it down to kill the clock and go to the locker room at halftime. That's it. So you have to question, like, well, wait a minute. They ran spread, but Josh's statistics seem pretty low. Like, what happened here? 2 things. Quality offensive line play and just an amazing job at having a feel for the game by Joe Brady. Joe Brady just being in his bag, as the kids would say. It's like just his play designs, his understanding that you could tell came from film study, and just a feel for the game flow was amazing. When the Bills went for it on 4th and 3, I have a note in my phone. When the Bills went for it on 4th and 3, I genuinely believed that play call was coming from a place of desperation. And I made a note of it. I said, oh man, this is an example of how scared of the Dolphins offense the Buffalo Bills are. They're going for it on 4th and 3. It's a questionable decision when, think about it. Take the points. You got a turnover. You're in the red zone. Take the points. It's a gift. They gave you 3 points.
Yeah, Philadelphia did that last night.
Yeah. Yeah, they did. So when I saw that, I said it might be a mistake. And instead, I was proven wrong. I look like a horse's ass. And the reason why, in retrospect and in rewatch, it wasn't that they felt like they had to protect their defense. Instead, it was because Joe Brady said, hey, I've got to play. I not only have a play, but based on the things that they've showed us on this drive so far after the interception, I've got them. I don't have a play. I have the play, right? And you watched a master class on how to manipulate a man defense on that 4th and 3 conversion that went for a touchdown. Like, you go watch Brian Baldinger's breakdown of it. He managed to get our running back a double screen. Like, this was a basketball game, and James Cook was, who didn't name a point guard?
Steve Nash.
Steve Nash. Exactly. They knew that they could manipulate the Dolphins defenders and take them to the right of the formation, and then just run the play left. And that's all they needed to do. And it worked. Like I said, it's almost like they drew it up that way. It's because for the first time in a long time, there was this massive explosive play that didn't require Josh Allen just willing a play into existence. You watched an offensive coordinator be meticulous about how he manipulated his opponent and get us a giant explosive play that immediately swung momentum in the team's favor. Now, Brady wasn't perfect. Like, the second half, the team was shut out on offense thanks to Bass's tip field goal, which I still will I will defend him on this. I believe it was tipped at the line. But only 1 punt in the first half is a really nice trade-off. And he did this really funny thing, guys. I love Joe Brady. I love the job he's done through 2 weeks. But I will say this. He did that thing that like 12-year-olds or maybe even 8-year-olds do when they're playing Madden or Tekken, where it's like, oh man, this one kick is working, and they just spam the X button because they're like, well, it's working. And eventually you catch them with a counter. the Ray Davis sequence where he had back-to-back interior runs for like 18 yards on 2 plays, that set you up really nicely for a play action pass. And instead he was like, no, keep running it up the middle. And they immediately swallowed him up in the backfield for a loss. And it's like, all right, Brady, not okay. You had an opportunity, but obviously we're splitting hairs at that point, if that's what you're mad about. It's not anything I'd flail about, but I did in the moment take a sizable pull off my cocktail and give one of those frustrated sighs where you're like, there was an opportunity there. But he's a young coordinator. He'll figure that out. Chris, three of the almost exact runs up the gut probably. You wouldn't do that in Madden, right?
No, I mean, I could try. I got Madden out there. God, I look great in these fucking gold chains that aren't real.
There were just so many moments for the Bills on offense. And they just seem to have the right answer at the right time. You go down, you look at that pass to Shakir. It was a throw that a lot of quarterbacks wouldn't even attempt. But Brady schemed up a thing to say, okay, we know that they've been kind of leaving, that they're playing soft in the middle here because they're assuming we're going to take a short thing, try to get some yards after the catch, pick up a first down. But I know that my quarterback is a gunslinger, and I know that I can get this guy at least somewhat open in the middle of the field. And if they play the zone the way I think they're playing that too high safety look, and he sits down right in the center of it, yes, the safeties are going to break on him, but it won't matter because my quarterback has a rocket, and he has the arrogance to try to make that throw. And sure enough, it works. And then, to add insult to injury, Jordan Poyer catches a 15-yarder. Tacks it on there. And I think that was, I mean, it is textbook that it's a penalty, but I don't know. I'm not going to lie. That might have been the toughest play I saw from the Miami team the entire night.
Have to cross international waters right now because Hugo Carmona wants to know the fuck is Utica Club?
Guys, it's the first beer sold after Prohibition, Hugo. That's what it is. They call them golden bullets. I mean, they do kind of taste like pennies. I'm not going to lie to you. It's not great.
Well, I'll bring some to the game that you fly in for from Spain.
When you look back at the job Brady did, there was explosive plays on every single first half drive. And even in the second half where we were scoreless on offense, the Bills knew the game was over and they were just trying to get the hell out of Dodge. Like, here's a stat. After the pick six that pretty much sealed the game, and then, obviously, to his subsequent injury on the following possession, the Bills did not call a passing play on first or second down for the rest of the game. They were content to just... Chris, after seeing how explosive the team was in the first half and how they had the perfect mix of run-pass, like an 18-wheeler driver who's downshifting. He was like, nope, Tua's hurt. The game's over. We just stuck him on 4th and goal, and we're done here. Grind this thing down into low gear and let's run all the clock we can. So on first and second down of every single possession we had, it was just run, then try to pass to see if you can pick up a first down. And if you got it, it was run, and see if you can pass your way out of it. That's good coordinating, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Because you know what you could do is you could overthink this thing and pull a Nick Sirianni. You pull a Nick Sirianni where your team literally gets down. Warren Sharp had an amazing tweet about the stupidity of the Eagles. Last night's football game, when you look at the fact that in situations, didn't matter what the down was, anything in 3 yards to go, whenever they ran, they got 5 yards. They got 6 yards. They got 4 yards. They got 3 yards. Whatever the situation had been all night long, they got enough to get the first down. And then in the game's most important moment, they decide to get cute and throw the ball and fumble the game away. And it's like I made the joke that Nick Sirianni is just 3 Mike McDaniels wrapped inside of a Jalen Hurts overcoat.
Yeah, dude, I think that Sirianni is on the hot seat. And he is similar to McDaniel.
Yeah.
McDaniel is like, I can only beat your Clevelands, your Jacksonvilles, your bottom feeders of the AFC and NFC. But then when you got to go against Mahomes, you got to go against Allen, you got to go against Burrow, top tier teams, McDaniel fails miserably.
Ralph Wilson Sr. in the comments, my dad's softball team was sponsored and fully uniformed by Utica Club. Can I get one? What does a guy got to do to get a Utica Club softball jersey? Oh my God.
Yeah, email us a photo of it, please. We'd love to see was it like pant? I want to know, is it pants and the jersey?
If it's a full uni, oh my God.
Because when you say adult softball team, you're like, oh, we just get shirts.
Yeah.
But if you go full uni, pants and
it's Utica Club themed?
Yeah, please.
Man, dude, I'll kill for one of those. Now, before I move on, I got to finish it with this thought. The touchdown pass to Cook gives me two thoughts. Okay. First of all, the breakdown points out, if you watch Baldinger's stuff, Emmanuel Acho also did a breakdown of the James Cook touchdown play.
Back in May?
No. Back in May? Yeah, back in May. What a horse's ass that guy is. I can't wait to talk about it. The Dolphins are hilariously and foolishly hell-bent on playing man defense against the Buffalo Bills on offense year in and year out. And it's one of the reasons that Josh Allen has just absolute fiestas on their field. He eats them alive because they keep trying to play man defense. And oh my God, pants, stirrups, and hats. Dude, Chris, I would do a podcast in full regalia if I could get my hands on it. Hell, I would wear it to work. I'd wear it to my office and just go sit in there.
God.
They're so predictable on defense, the Dolphins have become. It doesn't matter who their defensive coordinator is. Look at how they've built their roster. They bring in Kyle Fuller. They go pay Jalen Ramsey. They are going to, that's all what they're going to do is be a man defense team. And it's always going to struggle when it comes to trying to protect themselves against Josh Allen. Always. And in this moment, between the film study and the knowledge of his opponent, Joe Brady was able to design a play that he could absolutely manipulate the opponent, where they get embarrassed for a touchdown with the speed that the Bills have on the back end. Putting that on tape right now in week 2, I think is monumental in the red zone for the Buffalo Bills. Defensive coordinators have seen it. Now they're making notes and they're saying, oh shit. Well, we would have really liked to go man against the Bills down here because we know that Keon Coleman, Mac Hollins, these are players who really thrive against zone. We would like to man up against them down here. But if they're going to pull some nonsense like that and manipulate our linebackers and our cornerbacks out of formation and then run across the grain and that guy's just too fast, now we have to consider that zone might be our only option. And I think that can pay dividends long term. Because now you think about it, Coleman, Knox, Hollins, these are 3 guys who we would love to use in the red zone because of their size, their physicality, and their understanding of how to just settle into the weak spot in the zone and make themselves available. I think it only serves to increase the value of those players long term by showing defensive coordinators now, hey, if you go man inside the 20, I've got speed on the back end and I know how to manipulate guys who are playing in a man. Like, we'll do this to you. You can be next on ESPN's, top 10 or not top 10, depending on how bad it gets. You too can take a ride on this. And so it's going to give them pause when they try to go full tilt man press when you get down close to the end zone. Think about it. Coleman had a real struggle in this game against Kyle Fuller. He drew Kyle Fuller in most of his snaps, and it was a rough one. And when he was covered by Ramsey, it didn't get much better. He just really could not, he just couldn't get open, which, coming out of the draft, that was kind of the book on him. Running plays like this now is going to help open up doors for guys like Knox and guys like Coleman and guys like Hollins on down the line. So I think it's amazing. And I also think it shows something off. Do you know, Chris, that out of all the quarterbacks that we think of as top quarterbacks, Josh Allen's passing numbers inside the 10-yard line are actually painfully mediocre.
That makes sense.
Mahomes was number 1 in the NFL last year with 22 touchdown passes inside the 10-yard line. Do you know where Allen was?
No.
15th. Do you want to hear some of the names of guys who had more touchdown passes inside the 10 than Josh Allen last year? Geno Smith. Sam Howell. Sam Howell's not even an NFL starter. And he had more touchdown passes inside the 10 than Josh Allen. That has everything to do with offensive coordination, doesn't it?
Yes.
Okay. Like, that's the reason he has so many rushing touchdowns. Because realistically, we cannot, or at least have not been able to, even with Brian Daboll in our heyday, have not been able to orchestrate competent passing concepts inside the red zone. And that's a problem. We've been weak on giving him well-designed, well-orchestrated plays so that he doesn't have to just go Hulk and do all the heavy lifting on our team's behalf. The scheme simply provides. In this game, we saw well-designed plays, timely plays. In the red zone, we saw a masterclass on how to manipulate an opponent once you figure out what they're in, and to make it so that your quarterback just doesn't have to do it all. That is a dynamic Josh has not yet had in his career at his disposal. He hasn't. It's been his arm, his legs, his toughness, and we just watched them embarrass an opponent, and it took very little of that. And so with that, I think we owe Joe Brady a giant round of applause, and I'll drink to that. Cheers. Now, onto the other half of the killer bees. You know, Chris, I'm telling you, every time
killer bee.
Every time
Look
I'm
at that.
pumped about, I'm going to wear my Wu-Tang shirt.
Stop it. The camera's on me. I got gold chains on. You don't.
I'm not going to lie. Is that appropriation? Are you appropriating culture right now? You kissing the chain. All you got to do is kiss it and point to the sky, and I'm going to get Alejandro in here to yell at you.
Is this appropriation?
I think that's
Is this appropriation, or am I just... am I just donning the culture of Caputis in Tonawanda?
You are Tonawanda. You are channeling Tonawanda right now. You know what else channels Tonawanda? You know, I feel like we bully Tonawanda, right?
It's well deserved. I'll tell you this. My mother doesn't like it because she's from Tonawanda. My mom's from Tonawanda. My dad's from Hamburg. My mom does not like that I trash Tonawanda on this podcast. I mean, your famous line is that people from Tonawanda believe that rust is a color.
Yeah, they believe rust is a color. They believe it belongs on the exterior of your home. You want to see, we are bullies, right? Like, we bully Tonawanda. Do you know that right now there's an angry coalition of mothers out there writing a sternly worded letter to Bobby Babich right now, scolding him for glorifying bullying on national TV?
Do you see that comment right there? First comment in, my ex-wife is from Tonawanda. That's the type of Tonawanda comments we like to see.
Oh, as she should be, sir. I'll drink to that. Chris, hand-wringing about the children, these mothers probably saw what Bobby Babich did to the Miami Dolphins and were despondent. For being a depleted defense, you know, which got more depleted, what?
14, I think it was 14 plays in.
14 plays into the game? We gave the Dolphins an absolute drubbing on defense. Like, you wouldn't know which defense between us and Miami was missing a bunch of its star players, right?
Yeah, as soon as we found out that Bernard was out, we were discussing, like, well, we have to run the ball to keep our own defense off the field because you cannot trust Balin Spector in the spot coming in for Bernard.
He did all right. Not great. Not great.
Well, I'm just saying
enough.
I'm just saying when you are seeing it live,
oh, sure,
you do not trust that type of hair to play quality linebacker play.
Now, here's what I want you to do. Go to NFL Next Gen Stats and get me the receiver statistics for separation, because I want to see something. Like, I'm just curious about it now as I'm thinking about it in the moment. The Bills' secondary was so good in this game. There was just no room for Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle to operate. You know, I talked about it with the stats of the game. Both of them had a combined 36 yards after the catch. That's embarrassing for those two players, considering that they are pretty much the backbone of that like they're pretty much the backbone of that passing attack. It's not like they have a dominant tight end.
You're
Chris,
going to have
okay.
to tell me where to go
Yep.
here.
So right there, click on where it says separation. Nope. Over. Bang.
This.
Yep.
There you go.
Now let's see. Now search for search for Tyreek Hill. Just do Control F and then type in Hill. Nope, you unsorted the column. Click it again. Guys, this is hilarious that you guys get to see what this is like on YouTube. Control F for find, and now type in Tyreek. Yeah, Tyreek Hill.
There you go.
3.8 yards of average separation, and they couldn't find a way to get him the ball. Like, that's amazing. The offense it was flummoxed. They had no room to operate. And it was amazing watching it. Like, with the issues that we had at linebacker, the defensive backs were asked to really, like, assist in run support. And they were up to the task. Defensive backs finished as 3 of the top 5 tacklers on the team for the night. And 3 of them had multiple tackles for loss. That shows you how aggressive Babich was. He wasn't shy about walking DeMar Hamlin to the line of scrimmage on a run play, being like, hey, I'm going to send run blitzes. Now, sometimes it beat him. You know, there was times where he would send a run blitz, and then they would just run around it right into the space where a run blitz vacated, and you're like, all right, well, that's frustrating. But he never wavered. He stayed with the fact that we are going to be we're going to run blitz because we know this is a thing you're trying to build into your game plan, and you're trying to bait me into this so you can set me up for play action passing. Well, Chris, the play action never gets off the ground if you just never stop coming after everyone in the backfield, trusting that your safeties can clean up whatever's behind the linebackers, right?
Yeah.
That was one of my favorite takeaways. Babich never wavered. He didn't blitz from a pass rush perspective. He barely blitzed anyone. He only had 2 players who ran a blitz in the entire game. The rest of it was all predicated by the D-line.
I do remember you bitching about some of our blitzes.
The run blitz.
Yeah.
Because the problem with the run blitz was that every time he would pull that weak side linebacker down on the run blitz, they would just run out. Either a stretch run, or it would just happen to come at a time when a guy's running a counter and that guy would be outside. And just wherever our run blitzer came from, he would just vacate and fill that spot and force the safety to come up and make the tackle. But they did. And in that way, you know, for as much as we as fans have kind of been hand-wringing over the last few weeks over, whoa, what about our safeties? Oh, our safeties. I will say this. Week 1, they didn't give up any big plays downfield. Week 2, not only did they not give up any big plays downfield in the pass, but they were really adept at stepping up and backing up the linebackers from a run-stopping capacity. And I think that's really important when you talk about how this game got solved. Because realistically, Chris, the rushing statistics would show you that the Miami Dolphins should have just leaned into the run, and this could have been a much more competitive football game.
That is true.
And then you look at the guys on the outside. Christian Benford had -4 air yards. -4 air yards caught against him on the night. Do you know how hard it is to get negative air yardage completed against you as a cornerback? He was a monster. He had a phenomenal night. At the same time, I don't think that, you got Benford and you've got, Jesus Christ, what's his name over there? Benford, and it's escaping me now.
Ingram.
No, not Ingram.
Kyrie Elam.
Ingram's our dime. Who's, no, we traded for him. Jesus Christ.
Rasul Douglas.
Rasul Douglas. Douglas was also very physical. Like, he didn't have any of the splash plays that Benford did. He doesn't get the interception. But he does get some really physical tackles. And he also, I think he had 2 passes completed against him, and they combined kept their wide receivers that they were covering under 20 yards after the catch between the two of them. I think it was something like 14 or 15 between the two. That's nuts. If he has -4, that means Douglas only gave up a handful. It's crazy. And also, it's crazy to think that the best cornerback that we had on the field on the night and our leading tackler were both 6th round draft picks at defensive back. just brought up and groomed in a Sean McDermott system.
Everybody's mentioning Benford in the comments.
Yeah. No, I mean, Benford had an amazing night. And I think what we're watching, especially against that wide receiver group, what we're watching is what happens with these young players that you draft them because of traits, right? The reason they're still available to you in the 6th round is because of traits. It's not because, hey, their natural physical gifts are so explosive that they're going to be great in the NFL. No.
Or because he went to fucking Villanova.
You don't draft him because of the statistics, because he went to Villanova, so you throw the statistics away. You don't draft him because he put out impressive college tape against top-notch competition. You draft him because you like his traits and you like his coachability. Same thing with DeMar Hamlin. And look at where they are now. They've gone from being guys that we were nervous about to guys who are backstopping our defense. And at the same time, Chris, have we as a fan base started to turn a corner on DeMar Hamlin?
Yeah.
Maybe not in the sense that, oh my God, he's going to be a replacement for Micah Hyde. Nobody can replace Micah Hyde in his prime.
No.
The guy was an all-pro. But what you can do is you can find a talent who is not a glaring liability. And in that way, I think we did pretty damn good for a 6th-round draft pick and not a ton of cap hit, right?
Yeah.
Now, I can't really applaud them, though, if you don't give the defensive line their flowers. The defensive line, baby, and what Babbage had in store. The killer bees were on the swarm. I'm telling you. It was Babbage taking the reins of the defense. Chris, have you ever seen a front 7 play that aggressively under Sean McDermott?
Honestly, I've never seen someone try to throw the ball away and they don't. That was like there's
I've
many.
never seen someone try to throw the ball away and then just not.
There's so many Dolphin video creators that live stream themselves watching the game, and you get that. I've seen like 2 or 3 different Dolphins streamers like watching that play in real time. Oh, he's throwing it away. And then they like fall backwards out of their chair because it didn't make it to the sideline, and Ingram took it for 6.
It really is wild when you think about that play. And so let's start there. That play that ultimately sealed the game for Buffalo. It was an amazingly designed pass rush. And that's what makes the difference. You're not just, hey, I'm going to put some fast guys in the field or some big physical guys in the field, and they're going to chase down a quarterback. This play happens because your defensive coordinator had the right feel for the game, the right feel for how we were kicking the shit out of their tackles, and ultimately just understood, like, hey, I've got something in my bag of tricks specifically for a team who, and I think this was after Teron Armstead had come off the field. Like, Teron Armstead was kind of in and out there. I don't know if people noticed that at home when you're watching it in real time. He knows he's got 2 weak tackles on the field. So what does he do? The Bills line up their first time I've seen it in years on a legitimate NASCAR package. Now, Chris doesn't understand what that is, but essentially you go out and you put your biggest, fastest bodies on the field and it's all go. But you throw a little creativity in there, and that's what makes a killer pass rush. Multiple high-end pass rushers with defensive ends on the inside of the line. So you take a look at the way this play breaks down, and I'll walk you from left to right. It's Von Miller, Ed Oliver, A.J. Epinesa lined up as defensive tackle, Greg Rousseau on the outside off left tackle. Off the snap, Rousseau and Von Miller crash to the inside, almost like they're trying to go outside and then in across the tackle's face. They draw in. Well, these guys twist around. Well, the interior guys kind of twist around the movement of the guys on the outside. Everybody on the inside gets crossed up because the Dolphins' offensive line is hot garbage. And you have 2 players with free lanes directly to Tua Tagovailoa. A.J. Epinesa and Ed Oliver are coming from, it's like a scissors. It's the scissors motion, and they're coming for him. They're going to pincher him, and that's the end. And so, of course, he throws it away. But he also can't plant his feet because what are you going to do, Chris? You can't go this way. The ball's in this hand, right? You're a lefty. The ball can't go that way. It has to go this way because you're rolling away from the pressure and, oh no, there's more pressure and you don't have time to plant your feet, so you airmail one. And it becomes a pick six. They're lucky that Tua didn't get killed on that play. They're incredibly lucky. I haven't seen an aggressive design of a pass rush like that from the Buffalo Bills under Sean McDermott or Leslie Frazier. That was nice. And he threw wrinkles like that at the Dolphins offensive line continuously throughout the night. And so with that in mind, it was really, really refreshing to watch two coordinators for a team that, we keep being told doesn't have the talent. Again, something we're going to talk about. Team that didn't have the talent, right? Go out there and just make rock star plays.
It's not that we don't have the talent. We let the talent walk and or trade it away to take on your favorite amount of dead cap money.
Yeah. I haven't seen that kind of defensive line play calling since Mike Pettin in the cold front. Like Marcel Darius back when he cared more about sacking quarterbacks than smoking weed and being a half-ass boat captain. I don't even think he owned a boat. I think he just bought the hat and started wearing it around, which is like, Chris, was that supposed to be cool? Was it like a fashion statement?
It is on McKinley Parkway.
Like Captain Lou Albino?
Lou Albano.
Lou Albano. Albano, didn't matter. It was wrestling and it's fake. This group, behind Babbich's coordinating and some really stellar cornerback play, made a mockery of a Dolphins offense that played like they thought that this was flag football and found out 20 minutes before kickoff they had to put pads on. But that's not shocking. Not when you consider who tonight's zero of the week is. Chris, our zero of the week is Dolphins head coach Mike McDaniel.
You look like death warmed over. Every time I look at you, I lose my fucking appetite.
This guy. That's the guy. There are games that you get out executed in. And then there's games that you get out coached in. As a Bills fan, we've watched that over the years. Chris, what are you pointing at?
His fucking haircut. Look, God.
What I saw on Thursday.
He looks like a San Francisco librarian. God.
He's going to help you find the children's section, which is the same place he buys his clothing. I'm being mean. What I saw out of the Miami Dolphins on Thursday, there's two words that come to mind when I think about it. Gutless and arrogant. And I want to qualify those things because I know that, we say a lot of things and sometimes they're bombastic and they're meant for effect. I think that was a gutless and arrogant performance by the Miami Dolphins. It's arrogant in the sense that the Dolphins were having success running the football. Okay? A lot. I've got some stats on this. Listen to this, Chris. A Bills team missing both of its linebackers by the second quarter. 5 different times in the game, the Dolphins ran the ball on back-to-back plays and earned a first down. 5 times. They would run it one play, run it the next, earn a first down. And every single time he got an opportunity, Mike McDaniel would move away from that and try to will his passing game into being the reason that the team had success. Every single time when even like the play in front of you is telling you different. The play, I'm going to drink a Narragansett. That's how pissed off I get about this. The play is telling you. The injuries are telling you as a play caller and as a head coach who's supposed to have a feel for the game that this is how you win. You dive into the strength of your football team. You've got a running back who's stringing together multiple 10-plus yard runs. He's chaining together drives. You've got a fullback who's churning out first downs for you. Steer into this. And instead, they ruined it. And you want to know how they ruined it? The depth at pass catcher for the Miami Dolphins is obviously bad. It's clearly subpar compared to a lot of other teams, even in this division, like here in the AFC East. Our cornerbacks did such a good job against Jalen Waddle and against Tyreek Hill. And then, some of the zones, when we had to go into zone, we were really good against those two guys. And so instead, they just forced the passing game to flow through guys we've never heard of before. Chris, do you know who the hell Grant Dubose is?
I believe it is French called Dubois.
Dubose? I don't give a damn. He shouldn't be on an NFL football field, much less on a crucial down when everyone knows you're passing. He shouldn't be your primary target or first read. Now, that's a ball that guy should catch. And I bet you in the same situation, if you're so smart, you scheme Tyreek Hill into that position. He catches that football. But because you're throwing to a cut rate nobody, the ball hits him in the shoulder pads, bounces off, and becomes an interception on your very first drive of the game and steals the momentum away from your football team right out of the gate.
The fan base is pretty cool. A lot of looks like a pharmacist, looks like a cannabis pharmacist. Josh Clark, whose ex-wife is from Tonawanda, looks like a barista in a meth lab.
On the second interception. Okay, let's go to the second interception. Robbie Chosen is back for God knows what reason. They've decided that, hey, you know what? Let's sign this guy off the street. Let's give him a start. Hey, I know something. On a must-have passing down, let's make him our secondary read. So he looks to his covered. He goes to his second read, who doesn't know the playbook. This guy does not know the playbook. So when it comes time to uncork the ball, because we understand that they're a timing offense, he throws the ball, Tua unleashes the ball downfield, and Robbie Chosen has decided to stop his route like 6 yards shy of where he needed to be. Christian Benford will never get an easier interception in his career. He was already running the route for the wide receiver and turned around, and the ball found him. That's like a pick in Madden that makes you throw your remote because you know the computer cheated.
Yeah.
It's just hubris that you think you can plug some cut rate player into this role and it's just going to work. Why? Because I schemed it that way. You know where else it shows up? The missed touchdown passes to Julian Hill. The Dolphins could have been running away with this game if they just connected on any of those plays. Yes, Mike, you schemed up a fantastic play and your tight end was open right up the seam, just like you drew it up on the whiteboard while puffing your vape. Probably making some smarmy comment to one of your stupid assistants. So why didn't they count on the scoreboard, Mike? Oh, it's because you hit a third-string tight end, an undrafted free agent player trying to execute this play. Turns out that guy's a physical specimen with suspect as hell hands. And yet you called his number on crucial plays in the game.
Yeah, you got the wrong Hill.
Not your multi-million-dollar wide receivers, not Jonnu Hill, who you brought in because, hey, I need a tight end. I'm going to bring in a guy who hates Buffalo, and I'm going to bring in a guy who's motivated. And Jonnu Hill made plays for them.
Jonnu Smith,
Jonnu Hill, doesn't matter. They all suck. You got him open, but he's a third stringer. Why do you think the Bills allowed him to be open? Because he sucks at catching the ball. That's why he was open. If it was a better player, maybe the Bills play that route differently, and maybe you don't look so smart on paper, asshole. The fact that he doesn't understand, right, that you can't just make it look pretty on a whiteboard and have that immediately translate to the football field, and how flawed of a concept it is. Just assuming that, well, that guy's athletic and he's tall, so obviously I have a touchdown here. This isn't math class. It's 1 + 1 does not equal 2 on a football field. That's not how this works. And like that kind of underscores like the lack of execution, the lack of toughness that they showed in the process of that. And just the fact that your thought that the scheme will provide and my guys don't have to do anything, that underscores the other part of this diatribe, Chris, if I have one. And it's the gutless aspect. I've never seen Mike McDaniel's in his third season with the Miami Dolphins, and he's done enough that they extended him. They already gave him a contract extension. And I love that because you look at what a Mike McDaniel football team is. Chris, here's your toughness on defense. On James Cook's 1-yard touchdown run, Mac Hollins blocks 2 players by himself without touching them. He literally puts his arms out like an adult who's trying to scare children on Halloween. He's got a safety and a cornerback. Or I believe it was a linebacker. The linebacker and the safety, as he's coming up like this from the 1-yard line, decide that it's a better idea than, instead of trying to take Hollins head on, bowling his ass over and trying to get in the lane. Because, Chris, this is very obviously the rushing lane.
Yeah.
They try to go around him, and neither one of them are fast enough. Because he's a big, tall guy with a giant wingspan. And if you are going to actively try to avoid touching him, then yes, it's going to take you 3 seconds to close that distance.
According to Google, per Hugo Carmona, Dubois means from the woods / forest. So he's a tree.
He's a stump is more like it. At least his understanding of how to catch a football, that man is a stump. All I know is Mac Hollins didn't fucking touch these guys while paving the way for James Cook's touchdown run. This is football. This isn't two-hand touch. This isn't patty cake. It is football. Okay? And there is an alarming lack of physicality in their defenders. I would be disgusted if I was a Dolphins fan and I watched us lose like that. And then you go to the other side of the ball and you look at the offensive line. The offensive line that their coach and GM have convinced themselves that they don't need to really invest in quality players on. I watched a guard try to shoulder bump Ed Oliver on a play. There was a play that Ed Oliver got credit for a pressure where the guard lowers his shoulder and tries to bump Ed Oliver off the play. You're talking about a Pro Bowl defensive tackle. You don't shoulder in the NFL, Chris. You use your hands. You use your hands to block on the offensive line in the NFL. And then I watched that play. Remember the 4th down sack? Ed Oliver's like motioning to Dwayne Carter, being like, hey, Rook, get over there. Stand. Get a little bit wider. Space out. All right, you're not listening. They're about to snap the ball. They snap, and he just discards the guard. Like, the guard comes out of his stance, and he just, like, moves him the way you would move your mother, like if she was about to trip over something.
Yeah.
But you do it gingerly because she's an old lady, right?
Yep.
You don't want to be too rough with her. So he gently and gingerly moves this guard out of the way and then comes in for a sack on 4th down. One play later, the Buffalo Bills are off to the races, and it's another touchdown on the board. And this game is becoming a blowout. The terrible shape of their offensive line, specifically the interior, right? I mean, the tackles got abused, don't get me wrong. But, like, this thing that was the catalyst for your quarterback getting his brain scrambled. You chose this. You built this, and you coached this thing. If anyone on the team had a pair, like, and he felt like he could trust McDaniel or the offensive line to execute, it should have been Tua, the quarterback. And so in that moment, when you watch him lower his head and take off running, and then decide to dive head first into a defender. Do you know where that comes from, Chris?
I have no idea.
It's the panic of, oh my God, we're going to lose to the Buffalo Bills again. And it's also the mindset of, all right, somebody has to step up. You watch Josh Allen. If you're Tua Tagovailoa, you've sat there on the sideline and watched Josh Allen beat your team up physically. Week after week after week. Every time you get together, it's Josh Allen running through defenders, pushing guys, and he watches the effect that has on the team around him. And he says, all right, we need somebody to be the catalyst. Somebody has to come in here and be the tough guy. And so Tua volunteers himself up like a sacrificial lamb. And unfortunately, we have to watch him undergo yet another intense concussion. McDaniel owns that too, in my mind. So in a year where everyone had high expectations for this team, If you're Mike McDaniel, you're now holding a 4% chance to make the playoffs unless your quarterback unless you can somehow make wine out of water here with Skylar Thompson and your quarterback comes back ASAP, which is something he probably shouldn't do.
You can go get Tannehill.
If you're Tannehill, do you take that call just to laugh at them and hang up?
Full circle.
Do you take that call just to laugh at them and hang up?
Yeah.
All I know is, and Chris, if you can throw Mike McDaniel's stupid face up there again for me.
Give me a minute. I'll get it.
Yeah. Mike McDaniel, you. Yeah, that guy, you right there. This is your fault. It's 100% your fault. You've coached a soft football team, and you've yielded soft results over and over and over again, and you'll never understand until they fire you. So go buy another novelty t-shirt and cut your ridiculous hair, you Prince wannabe. He's Prince Chris, like that's the only thing I can think. I look at those Jerry curls and I go, this is a guy who's trying too hard to be cool.
Yes.
Care less about your image and care more about the football team that you're supposed to represent. And in that way, our hero, almost the antithesis of this, is Bills head coach Sean McDermott.
Don't take it personally, all right? Franchise star players are a lot like Highlanders. There can only be one.
I have raged on this podcast about Sean McDermott. I have flailed and gnashed my teeth and screamed profanity over Sean McDermott. But in the same way that a Chrysler 300 all of a sudden looks like a huge hunk of crap when an actual Rolls Royce pulls up next to it in traffic, you can see the stark contrast in what a good NFL head coach is and what a bad NFL head coach is when you look at Sean McDermott and the job that the Buffalo Bills
hat
and you look at the job that first of all, that's how you wear glasses. Mike McDaniel sucks.
You know what I would take right there? I would take Sean McDermott as the revamped 1997 New York Islanders logo, the fisherman fisherman hat.
Our team came out and played tough football. Guys who might not be starters on any other football team on any other night, but this one in this game were given an opportunity to at least show their faces and grab the reins, and we're out there playing hard-nosed football. The Bills' defense had 3 first-round picks on the defensive line and a second-round pick. Everything else, Douglas, journeyman cornerback we traded a 3rd-round pick for. Hamlin and Benford, 6th-round draft picks. Cam Lewis, an undrafted free agent, replacing one of the most expensive defensive backs in the entire NFL. A sophomore 3rd-round pick trying to replace an all-pro in his first real NFL experience. Like, this defense is playing purposeful football. And they're doing it with aggression, and they're doing it with physicality, and they're doing it with composure and relentlessness. The offense is similarly like they're playing composed, cohesive football that's well scripted and well thought out. It's cerebral football. It's not just, hey, Josh, make the play. Save us, Josh. We don't know what to do. This is Joe Brady going, nah, baby girl, sit back, relax. Let me take care of this one. As he pops his own gold chain. You know they both wear chains, right?
I thought it was just me.
I thought it was just me.
Thought it was just me and my gold chains.
The offense is playing tough in the trenches. The defense is just playing stellar at the pass rush positions. They're winning their matchups on the offensive line. They're keeping our quarterback clean. They are paving the way for the highest scoring offense in the NFL. And it's happening at a time when I've never been more certain that Sean McDermott is truly letting his coordinators do their jobs. And this is where I talk about like growth and where I talk about being impressed by somebody. In week 1, we kind of pushed back on the notion that Sean McDermott went for the field goal late at the end of that game because it was the safe choice. This week, he trusted his offensive coordinator when his offensive coordinator said, hey, I've got to play. I don't care if it's 4th and 3. I've got to play, and it's dynamite. Screw the safe thing. Let's take this. And Sean McDermott said, all right, Jesus, take the wheel. And look at what happens. Sean McDermott never would have been as aggressive with his linebackers and cornerbacks as Babich has been through 2 weeks. And yet here we are. He wouldn't have played nearly as much man. He wouldn't have played nearly as much like exotic rush formations across the defensive line. It's happening at a time when Sean McDermott has done the thing that we've all said he can't do, and he's let go. He's groomed good people. He's groomed talented players. He is building something from nothing, from the scraps of what we thought a football team that could win the AFC East was. And we're dominating. So in a year that, unlike the Miami Dolphins, when no one had any real expectations for them, the Bills are on top of the division and holding the 1 seed in the AFC. And I have to say with that, Chris, I want to hear that quote. Earlier in the show, when we first opened it, I teased a little something from Emmanuel Acho. I want you to hear this. This was said by FS1 Sports' Emmanuel Acho on May 30th, 2024.
Bills fans, I'm not even going to attempt to lie to you. I'm not going to tell you a white lie. I'm not going to tell you a partial lie. The truth is, this is likely the worst season y'all will have in the last 5 years. Now, not necessarily by win-loss record, but it is the worst season because y'all don't have hope. You don't have enough talent to compete. The game of football is about talent. I remember when we traded away LaShawn McCoy, traded away Deshaun Jackson, didn't re-sign Jeremy Maclin. I was like, yo, we just don't have enough talent. And that's why Chip Kelly didn't make it through the entirety of the next season. We didn't have enough talent, y'all. Dog got to beat the other dog on the opposite side of the field, and the Bills have run out of dogs. Stephon Diggs is gone. Hopefully, Keon Coleman can step in and step up, but he gone. Poyer and Micah Hyde, they're gone. Milano coming off a knee injury. Von Miller, his Hall of Fame career resume, his Hall of Fame talent on the field, we haven't seen it in 2 years now. Tre'Davious White, he gone. Everybody's gone. Gone, all of them. Dawson Knox, Dalton Kincaid, that's who you're depending on. 2 tight ends. Really good tight ends. Probably top 10, both of them, I would suggest, in the National Football League. But, of course, the Super Bowl expectations are too high. The window's shut. It's shut. They put drywall over it. Now, you got time. Call one of Shady's contractors. See if somebody can get rid of the drywall. It's not even a window anymore. It's drywall. And after the drywall, there's bars. So if you get rid of the drywall, there's going to be bars. And then you can see maybe the sun, a little bit of the sun outside of the glass. But it's done. It's over. It's a wrap. Bills fans, nothing against y'all. I wish y'all the greatest of success. I thought Josh was going to win MVP like Joy. I thought y'all was going to win the Super Bowl 2 years ago, not last year. I knew it was done last year, too. That's where I'm at with it.
I don't even know what to say. Paid bloviators underestimate, like the reason that they're not getting paid to do Sean McDermott's job is because they can't do it, right? Those who can't do teach, and those who can't teach talk. Sean McDermott doesn't have to say a word. He goes out there and you're right. He's 100% correct. We do not have the talent that the Miami Dolphins had at the skill positions. We don't have the proven talent that they have at cornerback. We don't have the proven talent that they have at a bunch of positions. But we don't have dogs? Man, go tell that to Benford. Go tell that to Douglas. Go tell that to Cam Lewis. Groot, Epinesa, Ed Oliver, Ingram. You go tell those guys that they don't have any hope and that, hey, you don't have the talent that it takes to go out there and go win a playoff game, win your division, win a playoff game, maybe win a Super Bowl. That's fine. We absorb these injuries. Our coach and our coordinators, they're building something out of this perceived nothing. They are Stan Marsh in South Park. Bloody nose, battered, just going, I didn't hear no bell. They are building something from nothing, this perceived nothing. And I guarantee you that in 2 months, people will not be talking about the guys who make up the current Buffalo Bills roster as not being enough and not being dogs and not having what it takes to go compete at some of the highest stages in the NFL. I'll put a Seagrams on that, baby. Chris, this has been fun. This maybe is one of my favorite recaps we've done. Thank you to everybody everybody who showed up, who was in the comments tonight. This has been great. But for tonight, we got to get the hell out of here. I'm Drew Gear. That's Chris Kruger. And this has been our Rock Pile Report.